The yawn of civilization. Ancient people invented farming, taxes, and boredom. The wild days of hunting. Imagine waking up in a cave, stretching your limbs, and knowing your only job today is to find berries, chase a deer, and avoid being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Life was dangerous. Yes, but thrilling. No meetings, no taxes, no HOA fees, just vibes and survival. Hunter-gatherers were the original freelancers. They worked when they had to, rested when they could, and moved wherever the food went. They didn't own land, didn't build cities, and definitely didn't worry about crop yields. Their biggest stress was whether the mammoth would trample them before dinner. Yawn, around 10,000 years ago, in places like Mesopotamia, people started planting seeds. Hey, what if instead of chasing food, we made food stay in one place? Genius. Right. Wrong. Farming meant settling down. Settling down meant staying in one place. Staying in one place meant building homes. Homes meant neighbors. Neighbors meant drama. And drama meant the birth of civilization. Suddenly, humans were waking up early to water crops, chase off pests, and pray the rain gods weren't tune back. They invented irrigation, plows, and the first version of I Hate Mondays on say. People had farms. They needed storage. Storage led to trade. Trade led to markets. Markets led to cities. And cities led to paperwork. Entered the bureaucrats. Ancient humans who didn't farm, hunt, or build. They counted grain, taxed neighbors, and invented the first spreadsheets on clay tablets. Sumerians in Mesopotamia created cuneiform writing to keep track of who owed what. Bob owes 3 goats and 2 sacks of barley. Boom. Debt was born. So was accounting, and so was the first person to fall asleep during a meeting. Wheat cities came laws. Hammurabi's code in Babylon was one of the earliest legal systems. It had rules like an eye for an eye, and if your neighbor floods your field, you can throw him in the river, whose steez was swift and often wet. Bat laws also meant order. People knew what to expect. They could plan, they could build, they could get. Humans didn't just domesticate plants, they domesticated animals. Dogs were the first, probably because they were cute and good at chasing things. Then came sheep, goats, cows, and chickens. Animals helped with farming, transport, and food. But they also brought disease, poop, and noise. Imagine trying to sleep while your neighbor's cow is mooing at 3 a.m. Steel domestication was a game changer. It made farming more efficient. It made travel easier. And it made humans feel superior. Look at me! I control nature. Until nature sent a flood, a drought, or a plague to remind them who's boss. Early humans didn't understand weather, disease, or crop failure. So they invented gods. Lots of gods. Rain gods, sun gods, fertility gods, goat gods, you name it. Temples popeed up. Priests became powerful. Rituals became routine. And suddenly, people were sacrificing goats to ensure good harvests. Religion gave people hope. It gave them community. It also gave them guilt, rules, and endless ceremonies. You didn't offer enough barley to the moon god. That's why your crops failed. As cities grew, so did buildings. Humans went from living in huts to building ziggurats, pyramids, and palaces. These structures were impressive, symbolic, and wildly impractical. Take the pyramids. Giant tombs built for pharaohs who believed they'd need their gold in the afterlife. Thousands of workers spent decades stacking stones so one guy could be buried in style. Meanwhile, the average citizen lived in a mud brick house with no plumbing. Priorities waiting started as accounting, but soon it became storytelling, lawmaking, and record-keeping. Schools emerged to teach scribes how to write, and with schools came homework. Ancient students had to memorize symbols, copy texts, and avoid getting whacked by their teacher's reed stick. Education was elite, boring, and mandatory for anyone who wanted a desk job. As cities grew, so did greed. People wanted more land, more water, more goats. And when diplomacy failed, they invented war armist formid. Weapons evolved, fortresses rose, and history became a cycle of conquest, collapse, and rebuilding. War was brutal, but it also drove innovation. Metalworking, strategy, and logistics all improved. So did storytelling. Our king defeated your king. Bow before us. By 3000 BCE, civilization was in full swing. Humans had cities, laws, religion, writing, and war. They also had taxes, chores, meetings, and existential dread. The agricultural revolution gave us stability, but it also gave us boredom. No more chasing mammoths. No more spontaneous travel. Just routine, responsibility, and the occasional plague. Chapter 2. Greek Tragedy. Mostly just tragic philosophy sandals, and why Plato wouldn't survive a group chat. Ancient Greece was an T1 country. It was a bunch of city-states constantly arguing over who had the best olives, gods, and battle strategies. Athens, Sparta, Corinth, Thebes. Each had its own vibe. Athens, intellectuals, artists, and drama queens. Sparta, Gimbros with spears. Corinth, rich merchants and scandalous temples. Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle didn't just sit around. They sat around thinking deeply about everything. Socrates asked so many questions, he annoyed people into executing him. Plato wrote dialogues where Socrates always won. Suspicious. Aristotle invented logic, biology, and the concept of middle-class guilt. They pondered ethics, politics, metaphysics, and whether reality was just shadows on a cave wall. Meanwhile, regular Greeks were like, can someone fix the plumbing? Philosophy was respected, but also kind of a niche hobby. Like chess boxing, Greek theater was intense. You didn't just watch a play. You felt it. Tragedies were full of death, betrayal, and gods messing with mortals for fun. Oedipus accidentally kills his dad, marries his mom, blinds himself. Classic Antigone buries her brother, defies the king, dies. Empowering Medea gets cheated on, kills her kids. Therapy needed. Comedias were wild too. Aristophanes wrote plays where people farted, argued with clouds, and made fun of politicians. Basically, ancient Greek Twitter. Actors wore masks, shouted dramatically, and performed in giant stone theaters. No microphones, just vibes and vocal cords. Athens invented democracy, but not the kind you know. Only male citizens could vote. Women, slaves, and foreigners. Open voting was done by raising hands, dropping pebbles, or shouting louder than the other guy. Politicians were chosen by lottery. Imagine picking your president, like a game of bingo. Still, it was revolutionary. People had a say. Debates happened. Laouche, Werimade, and then ignored. Just like today, Sparta was the opposite of Athens. No art. No philosophy. Just war, abs, and discipline. Boys were taken at age 7 to train as soldiers. They slept on reeds, ate gross porridge, and learned to fight. If you cried, you were mocked. If you survived, you were celebrated. Women in Sparta had more rights than in Athens. They ran households, owned land, and told men to stop whining. Spartan moms were hardcore. Come back with your shield on it. Greek mythology was chaotic. The gods were powerful, petty, and constantly hooking up with mortals. Zeus, king of the gods, also king of bad decisions. Hera, his wife, queen of revenge. Poseidon, Ansea god, invented earthquakes when angry. Athena, goddess of wisdom, born from Zeus's forehead. No, really, myths explained everything from whether to love to why you shouldn't. Angara Swan long story. Heroes like Hercules, Perseus, and Achilles had epic adventures, tragic flaws, and questionable fashion. The Greeks loved competition. The Olympics were held every 4 years in Olympia. Events included running, wrestling, discus, and chariot racing. Athletes competed naked. Yes, naked. It was a celebration of the human body. Also, laundry expansive. Greek education focused on rhetoric, philosophy, and poetry. Boys learned to debate, recite Homer, and avoid being roasted by their teacher. Girls mostly learned domestic skills unless they were in Sparta, where they learned how to wrestle and sass. Greek buildings were iconic. Temples like the Parthenon had perfect symmetry, massive columns, and statues of gods who looked like gym models. Tay invented 3 types of columns: Doric, simple; sturdy, no nonsense; Ionic, fancy swirls, like a marble cupcake; Corinthian, extra, just extra. Architecture was about beauty, balance, and showing off. Even public toilets had flair. Eventually, Greece got tired. City-states fought each other.